In June, I attended a rabbinic conference, my first one in 4 years. And I picked up a slender volume called Awakenings, American Jewish Transformations in Identity, Leadership, and Belonging, written by Rabbis Joshua Stanton and Benjamin Spratt. As you can see, I've done my homework. The spicy premise of the book is anticipating paradigm shifts in the American Jewish community, which sounds interesting but also a little dry. Behind the data, the facts, and the sound bites, however, there are the stories of us, Jewish, Jewish adjacent, and Jew-curious folks in the United States. And there are 3 takeaways from the book that I invite you to explore with me. 1, we Jews are loved more than we are hated. Ashreinu, how fortunate are we? 2, there is an exploding interest in Judaism, matov, and how good is that? And 3, choosing your own Judaism is the entryway into Jewish joy. Shalkeinu, how good is our portion? These stories exist side by side, next to each other, sometimes in creative tension, sometimes in conflict. Let's try and find ourselves in them. Here's the first story I'm going to tell. It's kind of a preamble, and it's a hard one. These last few weeks, we have seen the conviction of the Pittsburgh synagogue murderer, leading to an instinctive reaction. My God, it's been 5 years? The moment the news broke will forever be etched in my mind. A small minion of us were in the morning service. I was about to read the Agudas, the binding of Isaac, the same portion that we will read today and tomorrow. The first congregants had been called up and blessed the Torah, Asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim, who has chosen us from among the nations. With the yad, the pointer in my hand, I saw our beloved emeritus, Rabbi Jeff, quietly step onto the bima and lean into me. 11 Jews have been shot in a synagogue in Pittsburgh. Our minion collectively froze, blood curdling to ice in our veins. Who has chosen us from among the nations? The blessing became a cruel, bitter echo of the Jewish past. Now, 5 years on, synagogues have instated safety protocols and mass communal resources, and the White House appointed Dr. Deborah Lipstadt as a special envoy for monitoring and combating anti-Semitism. The experience of American Jews is darkened as anti-Jewish hatred has increased and infiltrated many sectors of society, from the seedy underbelly of the internet to the august halls of Congress. While sociological data can be infamously hard to gather and parse, data analyzed by the FBI suggests that nearly 2/3 of religiously motivated hate crimes target Jews or Jewish institutions. Our synagogue was a target also, when local streets, including the street on which my family lives, were littered in December 2022 by neo-Nazis. This is one story, and we sit with it, holding our discomfort and our concern, our anger and our sorrow. But, dear friends, it is not the only story. Here is another story. If this is Judaism, sign me up. I've heard that compliment when rabbiing in our community. Sometimes the encounter happens through a distinctly Jewish ritual, a Shiva minyan, a baby blessing, a bar mitzvah. At other times, people are drawn to public space Judaism, part of our interfaith and outreach work in the community, or even my rabbinic engagement at the University of Iowa. A Hanukkah story time, a demonstration for reproductive rights at the Pentecost, a challah baking class at Iowa City Public Library. Unaffiliated Jews connect with us through social media and friendship groups. The Jew curious run into us at Iowa City Pride. True story. Coming from a different cultural framework in Europe, I never cease to be amazed by how respectful and kind people can be, and how eager and happy they are to learn. The experiences of Jewish communal leaders and professionals, as well as Pew Report data, bears this out too. Pop culture references to Jewishness are near ubiquitous. Who's seen the Barbie movie? It's good, isn't it? Those are too few hands. The rest of you should definitely straighten up. Pop culture references to Jewishness are near ubiquitous. From the Barbie movie, the monologue given near the end of the movie by Ruth Handler, aka the creator, was one of the most Jewish speeches I have heard in modern filmmaking. Raise your hand if you agree with me. Yeah. Down to the new Adam Sandler film, You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah. You have to say it with some tween swagger. Across the country, introduction to Judaism programs are bursting at the seams, including here. Rabbis and Jewish educators cannot handle the influx of adult learners. The Jewish community in America is growing from 2.2 to 2.4% of the US population in the last decade. We still have a little while to go, but it's good, it's good. Or to put it differently, from 5 million in 1990 to 7.5 million today. Here's an insight that will blow your mind. Rabbi Stanton and Spratt write, studies conducted by the Pew Report Research Center in 2014, 2017, and 2019 found that Jews are, on average, the most warmly regarded religious community in the United States. Let that sink in, it bears repeating. Jews are the most warmly regarded religious community in the United States. Who knew? Isn't that amazing? Ask yourself if this surprised you or not. If it surprised you, raise your hand. We Jews are loved more than we are hated. Ashreinu, how good is our love? I got suckered in. Oh boy, I got more than I bargained for. And while we at it, here's the second point. There is an exploding interest in Judaism. Matov, how wonderful. How do we hold both of these stories in our minds at once? Increasing anti-Semitism on the one hand, cultural sharing and growth on the other hand. As my teachers from Awakenings teach, for the first time since Roman anti-Semitism forced the early rabbis to turn inward, our institutions are reaching out and embracing the possibility of demographic growth. Perhaps this perspective will take a little getting used to, especially if we have heard a more lachrymose Jewish story of decline and assimilation. But in that surprise, we can excavate curiosity and hope. Let's compare notes. Last year, we were struggling mightily with COVID. While none of us know what the future will hold, we know where we have come from. For years, we valiantly worked to rebuild our community. Some Shabbatot, we only had a handful of people davening with us in person. We were grappling with online and hybrid education options, with reviving onegs and encouraging people to come back into the building. It was hard and draining and sad. But friends, we did it. You come to synagogue now, on any given day, you will find a place that is buzzing and growing, both in numbers and in spirit. Every Friday night, worshippers fill our seats, and delectable onegs fill our tummies. I believe in culinary Judaism. And sign up if you want to sponsor an oneg. Our social offerings are brimming and exciting, from a packed seniors group to yoga, Musar, book club, mahjong, and so much more. Our membership is growing. We are bucking the trends of many a small Midwestern synagogue, recovering our vitality, and which brings us to our third and final point. Choosing our own Judaism is the entryway into Jewish joy. Jewish joy is not unalloyed. It is tempered and strengthened with adversity. It's spiritual kintsugi, like the Japanese art that pours liquid gold into the cracks of earthenware vessels. Jewish joy is a hard-won joy, wrested from our encounters with Scripture and the inevitable divine, extracted from the deep journeys of our soul. It is nourished through building our Jewish confidence, stone by stone, brick by brick, where our yearning for this great and beautiful heritage overcomes our feelings of inadequacy or ambivalence. Jewish joy is not a one-size-fits-all prescription, nor is it to be cut down to size. For one Jew, Jewish joy is found in family recipes and Yiddish humor, away from God, or synagogue, or prayer, God forbid. For another Jew, Jewish joy is encountered in the life of the Spirit or the work of justice. For some, Jewish joy is nourished on from birth, almost like mother's milk. For others, Jewish joy is a delightful discovery later in life, through choice, and in some cases, through mikvah. Lake McBride is real nice this time of year. None of us can be the arbiters of each other's Jewish joy, but all of us are invited to bear witness to it. It is often said in the Jewish professional world that we are all Jews by choice now. This process of choice and discernment is actually the long story of our people's collective, with the stories of our individual lives woven into it, like bright threads of a bold tapestry. This sacred time is a vessel for our discernment. While the Unetana talk of prayer and the Musaf service is austere rather than joyful, its razor-sharp focus on our choices enhances the discernment of our lives, bearing a secret optimism, poetry of stirring contrasts. It starkly enhances the image of our lives, through fire and water, life and death. The high holidays give us a gift, sometimes fraught and existential, but always meaningful and transformative, and possibly, we pray, joyful and exuberant. Ashreinu, matov chelkeinu, how fortunate are we, how goodly our portion. Chelek, a portion, is something that we measure out for ourselves like a scoop from a bag of flour. We can welcome change, as discombobulating it as it can be, and embrace, as Rabbis Stanton and Spratt write, the promise of another Jewish revival. But a revival isn't a given. There are also collective challenges ahead, including dropping enrollment rates in rabbinical schools and questions about the viable futures of our institutions. If we, write our rabbis, become beholden to what they call peddling nostalgia as salvation and the authenticity trap, don't fall in that trap, it's a bad trap. We risk disempowering choice and joy from Jews altogether. We cannot outsource our Judaism to anyone else but ourselves. In small steps and incremental ways, we can explore the ways we find Jewish joy, meaning, and purpose. It could be attending Shabbat services, or it could be Jewish crafting, listening to a podcast, or wearing a Magen David, the Star of David, proudly in one's clavicle. Whatever it is ours. I'm not wearing my Magen David today. I figured I looked Jewish enough already. Here is our last story. Over the summer, I took part in the Iowa Summer Riding Festival. Took me 6 years, but finally I did it. At the end of the first evening session, I met a fellow rider. We made small talk, and he asked me whether I was from Scandinavia. I get that a lot. When he told me he was from Israel, I responded enthusiastically. He was somewhat surprised by my response, and even more surprised when Hebrew, flowed from my lips. Before long, we managed to cobble together another Israeli. The three of us would talk about Israel and diaspora, and my two new friends, both secular, were quite shocked to hear that I am a religious Jew, and gasp, a female rabbi. Oh my God, what's the world coming to? They quizzed me about my values, beliefs, and practices, and my journey into Judaism. This new outlook was discombobulating for them too. They had positioned themselves in opposition to an autocratic ultra-Orthodoxy. The idea that this open-minded blonde woman in blue jeans who sang bad karaoke on the dance floor could be an observant Jew was unlike anything they had ever experienced before. We shared WhatsApp details and created an ambitiously named three-way group called Israeli Riders. I'm their honorary Israeli. They're telling me to make Aliyah, but that would not work out so great for my life here. We messaged each other, updates of Israeli news from them, and pictures of freshly baked challah from me. We chose to be in relationship with each other, to have loving and tough conversations. We uncovered new ways of being Jewish with each other. I felt closer to Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, their love for justice palpable. And they felt closer to Yahadut, Jewish religiosity, by seeing an open, egalitarian, non-fundamentalist version of it. We fell in love a little with each other's Jewishness. In a New York Times guest essay, Dr. Deborah Lipstadt encourages us toward a proactive embrace of all Judaism has to offer, its values, its moral teachings, its pursuit of justice. Her beautiful piece pulsates with the love and joy for her own tradition, and she is exactly right. This Rosh HaShanah invites us to fall in love with our own Judaism. Ashrenu. Unfortunate are we.